place is a space endowed with sense. In other words, it is a space that is meaningful for someone. It would appear that for a place to exist, there must be a group of people who talk about it and act within it.
Using this definition of place, we can begin to understand and think differently about the role of place in design, not as an optional variable, but as an inescapable constant. Place does not simply play a role, but rather is an inherent outcome of the design process. The two are inextricably linked. Design is placemaking.
So within design practice, there are several different roles that act within a given space. These roles can include, but are not limited to, the designer-client, designer-audience, designer-designer. For these individuals, the work that happens, i.e. the projects, become the quote-unquote space that those individuals talk about through engaging with design theory, design strategy, planning a project, ideation. The execution of said projects is the quote-unquote acting within that space.
And similarly, within the traditional design education model, we see the roles of student educator, student institution, educator and institution, talking about design theory, design strategy, speculative ideation, as well as acting within the space through execution and iteration. One key difference within education is this really important critical feedback loop that happens within a space of learning.
It's also important to note that when we talk about space, we're referring to a conceptual space or a mind space, a cognitive intentionality. We're not referring to the specific locations where practice and education occur, whether that be classroom, office, conference room, studio, digital platforms, etc. Although we do recognize that some locations appear to be better suited for fostering conceptual space than others.
The production of knowledge and technology is deployed in a privatized corporate space and responds only to economic requirements of profit maximization.
Do you think Bifo's statement about the production of knowledge and technology is an extension of Marshall McLuhan's global village phenomenon?
Yeah, I think as long as design exists to drive profits.
For that marketplace, it will continue to be disconnected from the places that it generates and serves.
Are there other alternatives? Ultimately, we think no.
If we look at even those radical practices today, we see that the places these practices create are still commodified and in large part merely act to regurgitate symbols of what we perceive as meaningful.
Love, happiness, community, solidarity.
This is one of the tenets of Baudrillard's semiocapitalism.
Is the question of alternatives even the right question?
I don't really think so. I mean, I don't think there is necessarily a right question because there essentially is no answer. This is really like a design thinking mind trap where defining a problem immediately reduces the realm of possibilities and then solving a problem even more so.
The poet does not respect the conventional limits of the relation between the signifier and signified, and reveals the infinitude of the process of meaning-making. Exactness and compliance are conditions of merit and exchange. Excessiveness is the condition of revelation, of emancipation from established meaning, and of the disclosure of an unseen horizon of signification, the possible.
If place is meaningful space and poetry is excessive, unconventional meaning making,
then might we use poetics to think about design as creating meaning outside of the conventional sphere of value?